When a weaver accepts silk from a stranger, she unknowingly binds herself to an entry-old curse, and the spirits demand payment. In a sleepy village nestled between rolling hills, Edwa the weaver was renowned for her skill and her greed. At 68, her fingers still danced across the loom, crafting tapestries that fetched high prices at the market. But it was never enough. Why settle for cotton when we could weave gold? She'd tell her granddaughter Ifia, who pleaded with her to find contentment. One sweltering afternoon, a stranger appeared at Adwa's compound. The woman carried bolts of silk so fine they seemed to shimmer with moonlight. "They call me Amma," the merchant said, her voice like rustling leaves. "I bring silk from beyond the rivers, meant only for hands as skilled as yours." Adwa's heart quickened. Silk this fine could make them rich beyond imagining. "What payment do you require?" she asked, already calculating profits. Emma's smile didn't reach her shadowed eyes. "No coin, only this: weave one tapestry for me each full moon." Ifaya tugged her grandmother's sleeve. "There's something unnatural about that silk," she whispered, but Edwa brushed her away, signing the agreement with a thumbprint. That night, as Adwa worked the strange silk, she noticed peculiar things. The threads hummed beneath her fingers, the loom seemed to move on its own. When morning came, she'd produced the most beautiful tapestry of her life, a scene of women dancing under twisted silk cotton trees. But when Ifia examined it closely, she gasped, "Grandmother, their faces, they look like they're screaming." Adwa dismissed her concerns, already planning to sell copies at the market. Yet as they packed the cart, Amma appeared suddenly, claiming her tapestry. "Our bargain begins," she said, vanishing into the morning mist with the fabric and leaving behind a single black thread that slithered into Edwa's basket unnoticed. The full moon rose like a watchful eye as Adwa prepared for her second weaving. The black thread from Emma's visit had multiplied, tangling itself through her normal yarns. "Hey, no mind," Edwa told Ifia, though her hands trembled as she threaded the loom. At midnight, the loom came alive. Shuttles flew without touch, weaving a scene Edwa didn't recognize: a village burning, women fleeing with bundles on their heads. The silk emitted a faint wailing sound that made Ifia cover her ears. "Stop, grandmother, this is dark magic." But Adwa couldn't look away from the emerging pattern. As the last thread was tied, the tapestry began bleeding, not red, but shimmering black liquid that pooled on the hot floor. Hama appeared the moment the first drop fell. "You recreate history well," she said, rolling up the fabric with skeletal fingers. That's when Ifika noticed each tapestry stole color from their world. The gourds in the corner turned gray, Adwa's prized indigo wrapper faded to ash. Even the firelight dimmed to sickly green. "We must break this bargain," Ifia begged that night. But Adwa, now obsessed, whispered, "Imagine what we'll create next moon." In the morning, Ifia found the black threads had woven themselves into Adwa's hair overnight. When she tried to pluck one out, her grandmother screamed as if burned. The thread snapped back into place, glowing faintly. That's when they heard the first whisper from the loom, a woman's voice, crying in a tongue neither recognized. Driven by unease, Ifia ventured to the village elder bearing a scrap of the cursed silk. "This pattern," Elder Ngozi's voice trembled as she unfurled the fragment. "These are the lost stitches of the Gastant weavers who vanished generations ago during the Great Famine." According to legend, a wealthy merchant had offered starving women magical silk in exchange for their weaving skills. But when the weavers tried to break the contract, Ngozi explained, the silk consumed them stitch by stitch. Meanwhile, Adwa discovered she could no longer work any fabric but Amma silk. Ordinary cotton disintegrated beneath her fingers. The loom's whispers grew louder, forming words: 7 tapestries, 7 debts paid. When Ifia returned, she found her grandmother compulsively weaving in daylight, something Amma's contract never required. The latest tapestry showed a familiar compound engulfed in black vines. "That's our home," Ifia cried, but Adwa kept weaving, her eyes glassy, fingers bleeding where the threads cut her skin. That night, Ifia secretly burned the remaining black silk. The flames roared green, and from them emerged Amma's furious visage. "Foolish child, you cannot break what your ancestor began." The revelation struck Ifia. Adwa's great-grandmother had been among the original weavers. Their family debt had never been settled. As the fire died, Amma vanished, leaving one final threat the loom must eat. If not silk, then flesh. Elder Ngozi led Ifia to a hidden grove where the village's oldest stories lived. Beneath a sacred mahogany tree, they uncovered crumbling weavings, the original contract signed in blood-red thread. "Your great-grandmother Nkuru was the last to resist," Ngozi revealed, pointing to a signature resembling Adwa's thumbprint. Back home, Adwa had become a prisoner of the loom. It now wove on its own, consuming her gray hair thread by thread to fuel its work. The latest tapestry showed Ifia bound in shimmering cocoons. "I'm sorry," Adwa wept, her voice barely audible over the loom's clattering. "I never meant to ensnare you two." Armed with ancestral knowledge, Ifia prepared a counter-harm using indigo from their last unaffected dye pot and petals from the mahogany tree. As she painted symbols on the loom, the wood splintered, revealing human teeth embedded in its frame, remains of the devoured weavers. Emma appeared in a whirl of rotten silk. "You dare defy the pact?" Ifia stood firm. The dead ends tonight. By right of Nkyrus' unfinished tapestry, I claim back our threads. The loom screamed, its shuttles flying like daggers. Ifia dodged, completing the protective pattern. For a heartbeat, the room stilled. Then the tapestries began unraveling, the threads snaking toward Emma. No, the spirit shrieked, these souls are mine. But the freed threads coiled around her like vengeful serpents. As Emma struggled against the unspookling threads, Ifia made the final stroke, a single vertical line connecting hers to sky. The loom exploded in a shower of splinters and liberated threads that hovered like a constellation of silver tears. Adwa collapsed free from the curse, her hands now empty of silk but full of light. The freed threads wove themselves into a new tapestry, not of suffering, but of the original weavers reunited with their families beneath the mahogany tree. Emma's form began dissolving. You cannot destroy me, she hissed. Though her voice grew faint, greed will always summon me anew. Perhaps, Ifia said, gathering the last threads into a ceremonial pot. But not through our hands. She sealed the container with sacred resin, burying it where the mahogany's roots could guard it. Moonlight revealed the truth. Emma had been the first weaver, cursed to collect others when she herself had been consumed by greed. Her final whisper carried both warning and blessing. Measure your wants carefully, daughters of the loom. Years later, Ifia taught weaving again, but only with cotton dyed in joy and sorrow's true hues. Adwa, her hair white as undyed silk, smiled at this simple beauty. Sometimes at twilight, they hear the faint hum of threads, a reminder that some bargains echo through generations, and some lessons must be woven into the soul.